Alrighty, hello. Welcome to day 3. We're still going. 3 days in, we're still going. We're still going strong. Still not sure about doing these videos, but I'll keep on doing them for a while, and I'll probably decide at the end of the week if I'm going to carry on doing this side of it as well or not. But for now, let's just go straight into the story, which was called A Trainee Assassin. Here we go. The key to assassination was planning. It was a lesson drummed into Claire from day one of training. Know your target, know their routine, know their weaknesses, know their strengths. The tests at school had been easy. Set up rooms and targets with known clues for a teacher to evaluate you on. They were simple static dioramas, clean and quiet. You were never rushed, for that was not the point. A good assassin was patient and waited until they knew everything. The tests at school were about discovering clues and nothing else. Claire had been good at it. She had also excelled at the physical training. Running, hiding, climbing. These were all useful skills for an assassin. Blending in, she had had a little trouble with, but in the end, she was passable at it. Weapon handling also came easily to her, if not naturally. Most of her class took to one weapon above all others. Of course, you had to be proficient in all weapon types to pass, but it was normal to favour one over the others. Every other student was considered a master in the handling of one weapon, save her. It was not a mark down on her, but it was unexpected. It didn't separate her out as better, but it did make her different. Different was bad, especially for an assassin. Then the final class, the taking of life. It was the reason of an assassin, and an assassin who could not kill was not and could not ever be an assassin. Indeed, under the rules of the school, a bloodless assassin would be just that, and left to rot in the woodland beyond. Claire had struggled. They started you easy, little animals to start, a mouse here or a rabbit there. She had managed to kill them, but not as easily or swiftly as the others. Not that all considered that a bad thing, for there was nothing worse than a bloodthirsty assassin, save maybe a bloodthirsty clown. As the animals grew larger, as their eyes grew bigger and their expressions larger, Claire struggled ever more. From fox to donkey to cow to horse, she struggled to kill them all. Not physically or even mechanically, but mentally. Some said emotionally, but she disagreed there. Still, she had done it, and now the final test. 1 mark for your final mark. Her target, a man named Billy Doyle. Here was what she knew so far. The man was a mess. A wastrel of the highest order. Often drunk, rarely sober, never clean. He lived alone in what amounted to more of a shed than a house. His belongings were few. He was an easy target. The drink would make him sleep like a log. His shed had no security and no neighbours. She could be in and out in seconds, the job done. But here was her problem. Yes, her target was a mess and more than likely a drain on the tax-paying society, but he didn't seem evil. Killing him would just remove him, but solve nothing else. For that was the other side of her training. An assassin is not a murderer. An assassin is a tool, a highly specialised weapon called in to strike at a problem surgically. Despot king keeping their people ransom and guarded by a murderous army? Assassinate the king and the army will disband. No need for a bloody invasion. A well-politically protected mine owner using illegal child labour? Assassinate the landowner and free the children. No political fallout. Killing this man proved one thing, one thing only. She could kill a man, but was that the test? She was told that was the test, but if she returned bloody, would they reprimand her or praise her? Would they ask why they killed him? So, would they ask her why they killed him? And if only the answer she had, didn't know that very well, was because they told her to, would she feel cold steel through her heart? Was a test to find out why this man should be killed, or to return explaining she found no reason to kill him? Excuse me. Mind games, the stock and trade of politicians and assassins. She watched Billy for 1 more week, but other than drinking and sleeping, he did little else, save for the occasional brawl at kick-out time. He was an innocent, at least by assassin standards. She would watch him 1 more night, then she would return and confess to her failure and hope that that was the right thing to do. But she would not waste another day watching this shed. She spent the day wandering the streets of the large town, or small city depending on whom you asked, and ended up at the local library. It was a small affair for a town so large, but this was a town of industry and not learning. Still, it had the section she wanted, local history. The Doyle family, it seemed, were once ranked amongst the rich and powerful, but Billy did something. It was hard to piece together a nugget of local history that clearly the town wanted to forget, but it was all there. Billy was a murderer. The blood on his hands immense. He had waged a war against his fellow factory owners, but not in price or contract, but in destruction. Factories burned to the ground, workers' houses broken into and the families viciously assaulted, owners' houses broken into and families kidnapped for blackmail or ransom. It took some time for the local law to catch on and then gear up to tackle the menace, but when they did, Doyle was kept out of court and away from justice. All his money, lands and properties were taken, but he was allowed to be free, by writ of the king who lived many miles away. Some assumed he would die, either of hunger or stabbed one night by a victim seeking vigilante justice, but though the king may be far away, his words carried weight even here. When the body of Billy Doyle was found, cold and grey in his shed, it was written down as suffocation on vomit due to excess drinking. This will cause a slight problem for Claire, for her target was dead and she swore by her hand, but the teachers wondered. They almost failed her, but in the end gave her the benefit of the doubt and welcomed her into the fold. This, I think, is an interesting one, because I think by and large, this is probably the weakest of the 3 stories that I've written so far. But I think I only feel that way because I think this one probably has the most potential, and in a number of different ways, depending on how you wanted to take it. The idea of an assassin school, or trying to write kind of like a Harry Potter parody, but based around assassins, is intriguing. I don't know how you could make that kid-friendly when at the end of the day they have to go and kill people, but they also did in Harry Potter. There was a lot of magical war at that wizarding school, and I'm kind of surprised that people sent their kids there, honestly. I think any parent who did probably should be taken to court for child endangerment, but that's a different argument for a different day. I like the idea of kind of an assassin's with a code that, you know, you would only assassinate someone who needed to be assassinated for the greater good, if you like. And that is a kind of idea that you can manipulate and twist and turn to many different ways, either extremely dark or extremely light. Have Claire be the assassin on the outside who kind of works out that, you know, even though they have this code, it's all nonsense. There doesn't seem to be any kind of money involved in the assassin world in this one. So you know, you would argue, well, then how do these assassins, well trained, you would imagine you have to pay to go to the school in some way. You know, how do they make their money? So I think there's a lot of angles you could play there. And then the other angle, which I think is the one that I would play with, obviously build up the school and the training and Billy Doyle a little bit more. Also, interesting side note, I have a feeling I use the name Billy Doyle because that's from Red Dwarf. I think when they fight the Despair Squid, I have a feeling Rimmer is Billy Doyle, and he is a drunk. I think that's where that name may have come from while I was writing this, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyway, the bit I would like to, I kind of really liked about this is this idea of an assassin who doesn't particularly want to kill, and possibly never did, even though they managed to pass and get their certificate and are would be going forward from this, a fully fledged assassin in their own right. The whole kind of question of did she kill Billy Doyle, and as she goes forward, does she kill people going forward? Does she always find her victims to be innocent in some way? Do all of her victims seem to die in very strange accidental ways, in a way that she claims is incredibly clever and brilliant on her part? Or is there some, is there something else going on? Could there be something else going on that's kind of keeping her going along this kind of road? I think this is the one of all the ones that I've written. I think the Old MacDonald Had a Farm, I think with 5,000 words, you could do a much better story, beginning, middle, and end, and feel done there. The Flame one, I think, probably double the word count and you've got a much better story. And I think you've got a good base for some kind of living flame bad guy, right? And, I think there's something there, but, to put into a story as a character, really. Whereas I think this one has a lot of interesting ideas you can pick up on and start to play around with. And I think it was also the one that I wrote the worst, based on all the mistakes and tripping up I did while reading it. It was, I will also confess this, it was also the one that took me the least amount of time. I think this is the story that had the most behind it. if that makes sense. Like I say, I think there is a lot here you could extrapolate on and turn into a much larger story. And this is just kind of page one of 512, for example. But yes, it was messy, a lot of spelling mistakes, a lot of grammatical errors, a lot of words put in the wrong order, all that kind of stuff. But again, this is all part of the project. It's to sit down, write something beginning to end in around about that 1,000-word mark, and then do this video afterwards. That's the project. That's what we're doing. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all when I see you all. Bye for now.